Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people who hate reading. This month they're doing grab bags, so James picked Night of the Living Dead, 1990. We bring you movie news. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and Ryan Preston. So the description of Night of the Living Dead, 1990.
He's going to like this one.
It's another IMDb classic, which I actually think describes the entire plot of, well, you'll see. The unburied dead return to life and seek human victims. By the way, this is the plot of this movie and the entire Resident Evil franchise.
And Dawn of the Dead.
And the entire zombie franchise, almost, essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I just love how simple this is. And this is a remake of, if you guys don't know who George A. Romero is, you need to just shut the hell up. Pretty simple.
We're the only ones talking, bro.
I know. But there's always people commenting. You know, I gotta say, you know, this
the 1968
one is way better than, you know, Mein Kampf, I mean Das Boot.
Oh, shit. Wow, so you're really kicking it off right there. He actually wrote that in his notes, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my God.
Totally did.
He's just digging his heels into the commenters, folks.
He is.
You know,
He's...
the thing I gotta say about this one is I saw this right when it came out on VHS. So, you know, I was literally like 9 when I saw this. And this movie as a 9-year-old was creepy as hell and awesome and just wonderful. I loved it.
I could see back in the 90s, this had I think that the film and all the way that it looked even creepier because this had kind of, in my opinion, maybe it was the film that looked low grade. It wasn't the best lighting, so in the 90s this movie would have really freaked you out if you were a kid.
In 1968, when George A. Romero put this together the first time, this was black and white, low budget. It was like he literally threw this together. And I mean, literally, there was very little screenplay. It was just this.
So I actually haven't seen the 60s version, but from what I've read and from what I gathered is this
Don't bother. This is the exact same thing.
I was going to say, from what it seems, from what I've heard, this is the movie he originally wanted to make, including, like, say, the ending lynching scene.
Yeah.
Which they couldn't do because of the racial tensions of the 60s.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's almost no plot to this movie, if you could call it plot. My favorite character is kind of the alcoholic guy whose daughter's in the basement.
Really?
Well, the reason...
Oh, Tom Towles?
Yeah, the reason why I liked him is because you automatically knew that he was going to be the reason why all of them but one ended up dead.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for the first time I saw him, like, oh, it's him!
Dude,
He's
I like
the butler.
The fact that he didn't lift anything except for a TV.
And he dropped it.
And, I mean, that TV had to weigh a lot.
Yes.
I mean, they didn't make lightweight TVs back then.
Oh, no. My parents had a 32-inch TV in the 80s that weighed 450 pounds. It took 3 people and a mule for Sister Sarah to move it.
I mean, I gotta say, for a horror film, this one is, like, as simplistic as you can get.
And I think this horror movie, they're letting the atmosphere of it be pretty much to ramp up the scary factor in it. Because, like, the zombies, I mean, like, the Walking Dead zombies, if they have, like, the Walking Dead zombies and the atmosphere, I think this movie would be perfect.
Well, I mean, this is really where they came up with a lot of the zombie lore as how things are going to work in a zombie outbreak. And I love the fact that the rednecks won in this film.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's one of the greatest things that I always thought was great, is all the gun-toting nuts are the ones that survive the night.
Unless you're a Trauma fan. Yeah, no, I'm trying to think. This movie's, like, full of great little nuggets of scenes, you know, like the same thing with a character with Tom Towles' character, Harry Cooper, and his daughter's sick that got bit.
Yeah. And
I think that the problem that we have watching this after the fact is in the 90s and in the 60s, all that was new. So you couldn't really, it's like, you couldn't predict it. This movie's very predictable, almost the level of vampire movie, because you know all the lore.
Yeah. But I mean, at the time, like John's saying, it was like seeing it as a 9-year-old being introduced to zombies this way. It was amazing.
Now, the 68 version, I'm assuming it became a cult classic. Was that hard to find in the 90s? I don't remember it at all.
Dude, it was like you didn't even know it existed until somebody's like, "Oh yeah, have you heard George A. Romero?" And you're like, "Who?"
So this is pretty much like a Eraserhead, like Rare. Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Okay, so pretty much this was like the reboot of the franchise.
Yeah, this is Tom Savini doing an homage to
Okay.
Romero. I mean, if you guys don't know who Tom Savini is, he is like the godfather of every special effect that you can think of in movies from the 80s, 90s, up until recently as well. I mean, I think he's still doing stuff in the 2015, right, Ryan?
Oh yeah, I mean him and Greg Nicotero are pretty much the go-to guys, the kind of guys that are doing Walking Dead today.
Yeah.
They started out doing George Romero stuff in the 60s, you know, like as special effects guys, you know, sort of under the tutelage of George Romero. To me, this movie was Tom Savini trying to make a name for himself as a director, not just the special effects guy. And he basically just took every single page out of George Romero's book and redid it, essentially. There was nothing really added new to the story. And in the 90s, I think people were used to a different pace. Obviously, this is early 90s, but we definitely got out of the late 60s, you know, where you can justify that freaking 6-minute opening scene with the dumbass brother making fun of her.
Dude, that was I liked how fast it turned into the zombie outbreak.
Yeah. And this movie is still
turned into it fast and then didn't do anything for like 45 minutes. I mean, this could have been called the story of getting to the truck.
Yeah, and then blow the truck up.
It's like the song that never ends.
I mean, the only satisfying scene, seriously, was the end scene when, like you said, the rednecks ruled the day.
And she shot that guy in the face.
I would actually say the pacing on this movie to me was one of the redeeming points of this movie, because like a lot of horror movies today, they're either like too slow, or they use the very fast pace to make it scary. Then they go on the next thing, and then the next thing. I think that was one of the redeeming factors, because it was steady. It wasn't slow, wasn't fast. It just was.
Yeah, I mean,
I liked that.
The only things that really bothered me in this one was the screaming girl. That got old.
You mean Daisy
this
Duke?
round? Yeah, whatever her name was. And then the fact that Tallman character Barbara never put the butt of the gun on her shoulder.
Well, that was.
That could be why she wasn't hitting headshots every time.
I didn't get I should have. Wish I paid a little bit more attention. I didn't really know if that was like the full-on rifle cartridge or a pistol cartridge. Because if it was like a 45, long.
I don't think it was a 45. I think it was a 22 or a little bit bigger. I don't think it was a 45 long.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how she went from like Laura Ingalls to like the female Rambo within a couple of minutes. It was like, I'm gonna get undressed, now I'm badass. It was like,
yeah, she put some pants on,
which is better than the chick in the last Jurassic Park World thing, who she just tied her shirt in a knot and kept her high heels on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to me, I mean, this thing was full of little things like that at the time. We already had Night of the Living Dead, the first one. We already had Dawn of the Dead, which is an incredibly great movie. I mean, the plot of Dawn of the Dead, I mean, is what people should be aiming for with zombie flicks. But this one, I mean, it really just kept to this like ultra simple, limited story that didn't really go anywhere. And if you're gonna have that slow of pacing, you gotta have something other than Screaming Girl, you know?
No, I haven't seen Dawn of the Dead, just to be out in the open. What's the difference between this one being a copy of George A. Romero's and this?
Okay, well the main difference, and you can extrapolate from here. This one takes place in a house. Dawn of the Dead takes place in a shopping mall.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's okay. That's that one.
Right in the epicenter.
Right there, you already have like an endless supply of fodder for good writing. Where this one, you have the most like obvious old school Hollywood characters. I mean, the characters reeked of the 1960s.
Yeah.
Because it was just really simple, face characters. You got the dumb redneck guy, the hard-headed asshole, the submissive wife. I mean, every plot turn is coming a mile away.
Oh yeah.
Because the characters are so simple.
And then you got Tony Todd, totally hand-to-hand zombie fighter.
I mean, yeah, but everybody can be a hand-to-hand zombie fighter when they're moving that slow. Remember when you used to fight with your buddies when you're like 10 years old and everything was like choreographed, so you looked really cool doing it?
What?
Never mind.
Wait, you had choreographed fights when you were a little kid?
Yeah.
How cute.
Wow. City people.
He does live in the land of Hollywood. Ryan's totally right. There's
it's simple.
This movie's about as deep as the kiddie pool, as far as plot wise.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing that I enjoyed about this one, and that's why I wanted to. We really haven't. If we look at our show, we really have not stepped into the horror genre at all.
Not really.
I think this is really our big breakthrough movie into it.
I would say that was Exorcist.
Yeah, but even still, that's not on the same horror table as this. I mean, you got some great characters in it. You got, like I mentioned, Tony Todd. Tony Todd really didn't have much of a role in this film. He is a fantastic actor. I love him in Candyman.
I was gonna say you should have picked Candyman.
I mean, well, I like this one because this one's
hopefully
nostalgia.
Hopefully it's better than Hard Candy.
We are gonna have to pick some Candyman for John.
Thanks.
But, I mean, he's just I enjoyed him. Like I saw him in this, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot he was in here. But
he was a good guy.
Yeah. But I mean, he plays a fantastic bad guy, like fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
I'm still scared to death of bees.
Yeah. But and then you got Tom Towles, who I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff. He's in some of the Halloweens as well. He's not a really great actor. He's usually kind of a stitch actor where he plays that bad guy, the guy that you love to hate and you want to see die.
He reminds me of Archie Bunker, honestly.
You wanted to see Archie Bunker die?
Yeah, maybe. Well, Carol O'Connor's already dead, so yes.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, he kind of reminds me of that personality type, the character he plays.
Yeah, I can see that. But I mean,
because he has 61 movies to his credit and TV shows.
Yeah, I was gonna say roles. Let's say roles.
Yeah, so I mean that's actually not bad. I mean, honestly.
But I mean, as Ryan said, you didn't really need a lot of character actors. I mean, there was a couple times with Patricia Tallman that I'm just kind of like, you're overplaying it when I was looking at her. But, that's hindsight and actually trying to be critiquing of the film and that. But that's like nitpicking because
we do a movie show.
I know,
but we do pick things apart. I mean, it's kind of the show.
But I'm saying there's not enough, as Ryan's saying, plot devices to really do much with this.
Oh no.
But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this one is a very simple break into horror film is really why I think of it. But like I said, for me, this one's nostalgia. It's one of the first ones I remember seeing as a horror film.
The thing that really struck me is in 1990 this was R-rated. This would get a PG in today's society.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that struck me as I'm watching this going, this is R?
Yeah.
I've seen kids' cartoons that are more violent than this movie. And I wish I was kidding.
Yeah.
The other thing that notices the language in this movie, I don't remember a whole lot of cussing.
No.
Which is one of the things that struck me is it's a horror movie, and in horror movies, at least the ones I've seen in the last decade, there's always cussing. It enhances the scene, if that makes sense.
I mean, like when you got the guy like literally pulling up a shotgun to shoot the lock off of a gas pump, and he didn't even say shit. Like, it's like you should realize you're pointing. Anyway, I just thought that was one of my favorite scenes.
I love the reaction of the person. It was the guy, the black guy who watched it.
Yeah, Tony Todd.
Tony Todd, and he's just like, you see him go like, what? That dumbfounded look was hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I actually kind of wish they ended the movie when he found the pump
gas.
keys. That would have been a perfect natural ending for the movie, him maniacally laughing.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of a waste of his cigarette, though. I mean, he pulls out a broken one, pulls out one, lights it, looks over, laughs, and throws it across the room. It's like, all right.
Well, he knows he's not going to need them. I mean, come on. What's he doing? Saving it for the person who finds a zombie corpse?
But the cigarette?
His box of cigarettes.
Well, it was empty. Jeez, John, did you watch the movie?
Yes.
Anyways, but for me, this one's not a high rating film, though. To be honest, I like it. It's nostalgia, like I said, but honestly, if I have to put it down, I mean, it's like a 2.5. Brian?
Yeah, and it's a 2.5, and it gets a full point credit for Tom Savini being as integral as he is to the zombie genre in general.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets that credit just for teaching Greg Nicotero, how to do special effects makeup.
Yeah.
I'll give it a 3 out of 5. Just
actually, I do want to point out 2 things real quick though. The opening scene after the long ass credits, when they're at the cemetery and the guy starts walking up in the suit.
Oh yeah.
The 2 details. One they got wrong, one they got totally right, and they must know a mortician. 1, you would never have an open casket at a cemetery. 2, the clothes cut up the back like that is exactly how they do it. It's a lot easier to dress a deceased person when you cut the clothes.
By the way, Ryan, have I ever told you have some odd hobbies?
No.
But there's no stick up his butt. How do you keep it straight?
No.
How do you make his hand talk? I give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, this is kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be. Typical. I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot you can say to it because the movie kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
There's not a lot in this movie, honestly.
Really, not a lot we can talk about on this one.
I mean, the fact Ryan got the point out of the points he just talked about, to me, is probably the most you can really get out of this movie was nitpicking that. To me, it's a strong 3 out of 5.
Strong? We're gonna have to really delve into some horror film now.
I don't know if I don't know. It was decent. I don't know if I'd find it entertaining, but it wasn't bad. So 3 out of 5.
The one thing I will say about this one is that it's an hour and a half long. And the pacing didn't seem like it took that long.
It's a fast hour and a half. I mean, it's not Schindler's List hour, 3 hours. Or 2.5 hours.
Hour and a half. Dude.
Well, you know what I mean.
Not 3 hours.
Well, I mean, there's movies like Schindler's List, like they seem like they're good movies, but they have a slow pacing.
You were so easy to do that too.
Yes, I know. I don't know. So this is a strong 3 out of 5, I guess. I'm gonna switch to Outsiders, the TV series.
Now this is my pick. Yeah. Ryan has failed to watch it again, so I guess it's John and I on this one.
He has hobbies, man.
This show is strange.
I saw where I watched it. There was a little bit of an interview at the end of the clip. It was like Mad Max combined with something else, and the first
Mad Max, guys, come on, really? Just because you have little quads that you do little dances with?
Just watching the pilot of this movie and the way they did it, the pilot really gave him kind of a hint of having some sort of mysticism power to it.
Yeah.
Which they didn't show, and I thought a little bit of a spoiler alert, but if you're watching the show, well, we're going to spoil it anyways. The point where he killed that old lady, and she kept threatening stuff.
Yeah. That
was the one scene I was thinking, that would have been a great way to hint at something, even if it was like a burn mark, a scar, doing something.
They kind of did with the way that the weather started acting weird outside with the wind and shit.
But wasn't that with when they stapled the eviction notice versus when the elder was killed?
What, you mean when he put his hand over her face and attacked her?
Yeah, like that when she was killed, I don't remember anything happening.
Yeah, there was like some type of stuff going on outside. He stops and kind of like looks around type thing. It was really strange, but
the other
they didn't really get into it.
So say the scene I thought was funny, if you consider murder funny, was drinking that white lightning and that kid going berserk.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that was some strong shit.
Well, they said they cut it with some type of like snake poison or something is kind of what they're trying to hint at. But I mean, even that, it was like you're watching the kid drink it and you're like, dude, if you finish that whole thing, you're gonna like have alcohol poisoning. I mean, like he would not have made it home if he had finished that entire jug by himself. He would have died. And
it wasn't like the rest of them up on the hill who had built-in tolerance to it.
Yeah, it was that whole scene right there where he supposedly drank the entire jug of their best stuff. It was like, dude, like if you do that with just 80 proof vodka, you're gonna die.
I do gotta say, I love the atmosphere this show gives. I love both sides of the atmosphere. Kind of
the cop versus
well, I mean, like for one thing, they had up on the hill, they had it was kind of like, I don't know, 14th century and Mad Max style, and you could tell that everything was right. But when you go back down to the valley, it was kind of, the oppression and the darkness and that it felt. It was really well done. From the first episode, I don't really know, I'd say, if this would go anywhere or not.
Yeah, I don't see much life in it.
It starts out amazing, but I have a feeling I have a feeling it's gonna piddle out.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of life in the show. I mean, they're gonna have to pull some end game here, and if they don't, then that's just a bad move. Which, as Ryan points out, America TV does not know when to stop.
On the other hand, I kind of thought about that of Sons of Anarchy after one of the seasons. I was thinking this is going to end long, and it lasted longer than I thought it would.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's always room to kind of turn it around and use. But
other than having Opie in here, I don't really see it much as Sons of Anarchy type thing.
True. I just as far as how the fact that you see the last episode, it's like, okay, this is going to end next season. It lasts like 4 seasons longer than you thought it would.
Yeah. Anyway.
So just to let you know, we do have a Facebook page. Do you love us, hate us? If you're creative, we'll actually read you in air and most likely ridicule you because, well, that's what you're doing to us. Turnaround's fair play. And also, if you want to donate to Old Guy Tech TV, help keep the lights on.
So, I'm going to ask this to Ryan, and then I'm going to throw it out to John as well. So, in your opinion, if you actually think comic book to live-action film, other than Wolverine or something like that, what is one of the worst comic book or comic series that turned live-action
Can I go
that
first?
Comes to mind?
Can I go first?
Okay.
Howard the Duck.
All right, well, you got that.
Which, by the way, is a comic book, ladies and gentlemen.
But if we think of hardcore comic, more of like kind of Marvel, DC type stuff.
The 1970s version of Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, either the Hulk couple of movies they tried to do, or the Schumacher Batmans.
Oh,
okay.
I got one. The early 90s Captain America.
Okay. I'm going to throw one else out to you guys to see what you guys have to say. It had John Leguizamo in it.
Oh, Spawn.
Oh, yes.
So what did you guys actually think of the 1997 live-action version of Spawn?
My biggest problem with it is because there's an HBO cartoon. If you watch the HBO,
amazing.
If you watch the HBO cartoon, it's
Keith David is my man.
It's how the comic book looks. It's the feel, and then you get like the movie, and it's like over the
Cool
top
World.
cartoony.
It's like watching Cool World. Is what it's like.
Yeah, it's like Schumacher directed it.
With it. But I see your point. It's not the comic book, but I will give you this. When I was a kid, I mean, when that movie came out, that got me into looking into Spawn. And then when I found the books, it was like, oh shit, this is way better than the movie.
I would say the redeeming quality of the movie, honestly, was John Leguizamo.
Leguizamo, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he got the clown. He did the clown perfect.
Yeah, he's also one of my favorite comedians.
Now, This actually came out today. This is quote unquote from Todd McFarlane.
Ooh.
I've finished the script and I'm in the process of editing. It's 183 pages, and producers usually like 120. I still think it's going to end up being 140 because I'm putting in details for myself. It's a director's script. I want to get it to a spot where I can walk into Hollywood and start hooking the actors.
I think I have our version of that story linked on the Facebook page.
Now, he has also said that he may not give the reins over to a director. He may do this.
If McFarlane stays attached to this, there's no way this fails.
He's saying right now that he is not going to let this go. He will do a directorial debut with this film.
Who?
I mean, he could crowdfund this thing and do it off of a freaking MacBook Pro, the special effects, and it would be awesome just because he's attached to it.
Does this company release the comic book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Todd McFarlane's baby. He actually put together and released all the HBO comic specials.
I have a couple of thoughts. One being, if they pick a director and then he stays like in charge.
They picked a fantastic director for the live action. He already had Terminator 2 under his belt and Jurassic Park.
I don't know. I still think they're going to need some sort of director or somebody to help them. But if they have somebody who listens to like his vision, then I think it'll be perfect.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm a little worried about him being his directorial debut, and it's just it's like a pat on the back, and it's not a good movie. It's kind of what I'm afraid of.
That's kind of what I'm afraid of too. But I think how bad Spawn was, that he's not going to let that happen again, is what he's kind of saying.
And I've also heard that this movie is, I read a couple of months ago, it might pull what the comic book Constantine does. That's going to be continuous. Basically being, was it 14, 20 years since the original released? It's going to be so many years. It's going to be modern day. It's going to continue. It's not going to be a reboot from what I've read.
Okay, he could pull that off,
which I think would be a better way to do it, personally.
The thing that bothers me though is, Keith David is the voice of Spawn for me. I mean,
yeah, for sure.
When I think of Spawn's voice, it's Keith David. It's
and
pretty
Keith
much
David had such the perfect voice for it.
Yeah, I mean it's like Darth Vader not being James Earl Jones.
Right.
It just doesn't fit.
So you think they're going to be able to get him?
Oh, dude, Keith David's too old. He is not. I mean, he could be the Spawn after he gets burned.
Well, I mean,
yeah, he can do the Darth Vader and do the voice, the Batman voice if he gets into his costume. But yeah, the guy that plays him, he's got to have the voice in and out of the mask.
Yeah, so I mean, other than that, I don't see how Keith David could do this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He won't be able to. But I think that I mean, honestly, even if it's his directorial debut, McFarlane.
Hello.
Whatever actors to continue whatever vision that he has.
Yeah. I'll be completely honest. One of the other issues I actually had with Spawn is Michael. The guy who played Spawn.
Michael J. White.
Giacomo, yeah, Michael J. White. I actually liked him back in the day when I saw this movie, but I watched this a couple of years ago, and he's one of the issues.
Yeah,
in this movie,
he was one of my big issues.
Let's give credit to the other issue of freaking Sheen, Martin Sheen.
Oh yeah. Well, I thought Michael White. I thought he played it a little too over the top. And Martin Sheen was ridiculous in this movie. He should have never been in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael J. White definitely went for the comic book side of it, like the kitschy kind of thing that happened in the Schumacher Batman sort of thing.
That's it. That's a perfect description of it.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not a whole lot of people would have played that role to begin with and fit it with the skill and him being a stuntman already, was a big part of it.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I really wanted something to be like the comic book and the cartoon when I saw it.
I think,
And that just was not Spawn, and it's always been one of those like black stains on the Spawn franchise. I mean, seriously.
For anybody who's judging Spawn based solely on the movie, go check out one of the books.
I think,
Yeah.
I think now we have a greater chance to have an actual decent live-action version of Spawn versus the early '90s, because the late '80s and early '90s gave you the Batman movies with Joel Schumacher, gave you Howard the Duck, and comic books were kids movies. Now with Marvel, and you have the newer Batman movies, I think you now have a chance to actually have something that's one-to-one to the comic versus the comic book.
Well, the thing that I want to point out, and I'm actually trying to see, it doesn't tell me what Spawn was rated back then. I think it was only PG. Oh, it was R. So they're saying it was
a soft R.
Yeah, it was a really soft R, and that's the issue. That's the other issue I had with it, because Spawn, and I'm gonna throw this one out because I haven't seen it yet. John has. I don't think Ryan has seen it either. Deadpool and Spawn were two of the like more hardcore comics that were out there. I mean, Spawn had no issue literally slaughtering somebody.
Oh yeah.
And the language of Spawn and the Clown. The Clown was a demon, for those of you that don't really know. I mean, it was literally a demon, and it was a filthy freaking demon.
That's the reason.
I mean, John Leguizamo did a fantastic job, but he didn't go as dark as that clown really was. I mean, that clown was
I don't
disgusting.
think they could have without in the early '90s getting that NC-17 rating.
No, they couldn't have gotten away with it. So
even HBO would have said no.
With how far they pushed Deadpool, do you think they could push it to where Spawn needs to go to be Spawn?
Hell yeah.
I think because of Deadpool, it's going to open up a lot of avenues for the adult comic thing.
Oh yeah. I do have a few issues since I did actually see it this weekend, and I'll get more to
Don't
it.
spoil it. I'm going to go tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll get more into it if we review it. But one issue I'm going to have in this movie is the people who are brought in the theater. And I'll tell you more about that if we review it. Oh yeah, I think because of Spawn and because of Marvel and the DC movies coming up.
You mean Deadpool?
Well, yeah, I mean the Marvel, DC, the Spawn, Deadpool, and I think all these movies, Spawn has a greater chance to actually be good instead of being Howard the Duck, which the movie was pretty much.
And I don't like going there, but I want to actually just say I think the one that changed, that pushed comic book movies, live action movies, into the rated R genre was Hancock, honestly, because they pushed the envelope of having a character that is from a comic book into an R-rated type of genre.
That was that was the most uncomic booky comic book.
Yeah.
Was Hancock rated R?
Yes. Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was rated R for language and situational, like him being a drunk type thing.
No, totally. I actually completely agree because I don't know. I'm not even sure if I knew it was an actual comic book.
Yeah, it was.
Until you mentioned it a while ago when we were talking. So.
Yeah.
No, I think because of that and a few other things, I think it'll be perfect.
So yeah, that's what my fear was, is because I mean, Spawn. I hate talking about the '97 Spawn movie. I really do. I mean, I love that. I love the HBO, what they did with it, because it really brought movement into it.
To get more into this,
I'm excited.
To get more into this, one of us is going to have to take a bullet and pick Spawn, so we get to hear him bitch more.
Wait, not the HBO?
No, I'm talking about the '97
HBO again. I'm kind of in the mood to watch that.
No, I'm talking about maybe sometime I'll bite the bullet and pick the '97 Spawn just so we can have an episode of you kvetching about it.
Dude, it was filthy, man. That movie was like you had to take a shower after watching it.
Hey, I've met some politicians and felt that way. Ladies and gentlemen, next week is Ryan's pick. So Ryan, you're up.
Okay. Everybody's seen Swingers.
Okay.
And everybody knows that Vince Vaughn is a funny character.
Okay.
About like less than a third of the people I know that have seen Swingers have seen this movie, and it came out pretty shortly after. And to me, it's funnier for a lot of different reasons. But Bond, directed by Jon Favreau, written by the pair of them, made.
Brian, you know you're cutting out, right?
What movie did you pick?
Nope. 2001, Made.
Made.
Okay.
Okay. Because that totally cut out right when you said that.
Okay.
I was saying, I was thinking that dramatic pause was a little much. So we picked a TV series for this week.
Brian suggested, what did you say last week?
X-Files?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
So I gave Night of the Living Dead, 1990, a remake of the 1968 version movie, 3 out of 5. James gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Ryan gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Can't believe I gave it a higher rating.
I know.
Next week is the remakes, reboot, continuation, whatever it is of the X-Files TV show.
And Made.
And the movie Made, 2001. And as always, thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Thank you.